38 days to election 2020. Hello and welcome to Election Brief with me, Araba Kumsin. Coming up in this edition, new pre-election survey by CDD Ghana reveals governing MPP enjoys significant advantage over the opposition NDC on public confidence in its ability to deliver on campaign promises. We'll tell you more as it reveals an overwhelming number of Ghanaians fear threats of violence in the upcoming polls. Also, campaign convoy of NDC parliamentary candidate for Zebila Cletus Avoka allegedly attacked by suspected armed robbers. We have the details as police begin investigations into the incidents. Also in this edition, flag bearer of the Convention People's Party urges Ghanaians to reject NDC and MPP and vote for him to change this country's development narrative. Ivor Greenstreet is my guest. A member of the party is my guest as the party launches its 2020 manifesto. And later, also, a minority in Parliament demand summoning of the Interior Minister and EC boss to Parliament to brief the House on their preparedness towards the December 7 elections. We'll take you live to the floor of the House for the latest on today's proceedings. Thanks for your time. Now, a pre-election survey by the Center for Democratic Development Ghana has revealed that the governing MPP enjoys significant advantage over the opposition NDC when it comes to public confidence in the ability to deliver on campaign promises. There's, however, disagreement on the part of Ghanaians on whether or not the country is heading in the right direction. The survey further reveals there are concerns regarding possible violence during the elections, leading to calls for armed men at polling station. We'll hear from the CDD shortly, but here are details of their report. And as you can see on the screen, it says that majority assessed national economic and personal living conditions in negative terms, and that was 57%, as well as 30%. On assessment of national economic and personal living conditions, which have worsened significantly with COVID-19, you see the figures, 69% and 65%. So under the 69%, you see that economic condition compared to the situation, COVID-19. Green indicates much better, yellow indicates same, and blue indicates much worse or worse. And so those are the figures on your screen. Ghanaians are nonetheless optimistic about short-term economic future. You see the details on your screen there. Also, lack of cash income is the form of deprivation most commonly experienced by Ghanaians. Those gone without cash income, 67 indicates at least once or twice, and 33% indicates never. Those gone without medical care, 34%, at least once or twice, 65% never. Those gone without water, 29%, and those who've never, 71%. Also, those who have gone without food during this period, at least once or twice, 28%, and never, 72%. And those who have gone without fuel during this period, 16% at least once or twice, and 84% responded never. So we come to the assessment of government's performance. Infrastructure and unemployment are the topmost concerns of Ghanaians, as you see there. Infrastructure and roads, 51% of people voted for that as their topmost concerns. Unemployment, 46%. Education, 28%. Health, 21%. Management of the economy, 20%. Poverty and destitution, 16%. Electricity, 11%. Water supply, 11%. Wages, income and salaries, interesting, that was 7%. And farming and agriculture, 7%. Corruption, 6%. Agriculture and marketing 5%, loans and credit 5%, transportation 5%, and crime and security 5%. And respondents were asked, in your opinion, what are the most important problems facing this country that the forthcoming 2020 elections campaign should address? And as you saw there, it's infrastructure and roads. We can now hear from Dr. Kojo Asante, Senior Research Fellow at CDD.
And this is the first time we're seeing that kind of expression. I think in 2016, it was very clear that we didn't want armed police security at the polling station, but it does reflect a certain concern about the prospect of violence on election day. And I think that it's coming up now. It's an opportunity for us to look at it very carefully and see what is the best way to ensure the security or to make sure that people can feel safe at the polling station, but also ensure that we do not, in solving that problem, we don't create opportunities for violence to happen. Because having armed guards there, if you have a low skirmish and unfortunately something happened, there could be a discharge of weapon. So I mean, the security agencies, this is really for them to think about it. But I think for citizens, there's obviously a concern about election day violence, and this is the reason why we do the survey, so that those kinds of concerns, when they come out, we can deal with them. Yes, the other one that we flagged was, I think, 44%, indicating that even if the results are collated, not the right one will not be announced. We saw that also in 2016, it was about 23%. So it's obviously gone up, which suggests to us that there's still a lack of understanding of the electoral process and the transparency around it. That is a signal to NCC, the Electoral Commission, that the results collation, the results transmission, results announcement process, we have to do a lot of education around it so that people can understand the process and exactly what is going to happen, so that they are not basically sort of swayed by misinformation, which can happen on election day, and particularly during the period of collation.
Now, suspected armed robbers are reported to have attacked the campaign convoy of Cletus Avoka, the NDC parliamentary candidate of Zebela. The incident occurred around 10:30 p.m. last night at Abusloka when the parliamentary candidate and his campaign team were returning from their campaign tour to Gori, Tetako, Adagbera and Azuwera polling stations. Joining us on the phone for more on this is the parliamentary candidate himself, Mr. Avoka. Thanks for your time, Mr. Avoka. So first of all, are you in good condition? Are you hurt? Were there any casualties at all?
No, not casualties in the real sense of the word, but the trauma and then the anxiety and then the pain is still in the people. We were coming from Binaba back to Zebela after our rallies in the night. And around 10:30 p.m., midway between Zebela and then the Binaba, at a place called Abu Kolega, it's a forested area. The advance team, that is normally made up of motor riders, they normally take the lead, and then we, those in the cars, follow them. They got to a place where there's normally a police checkpoint, and they saw two men wearing police uniform. And then they used a torchlight and flashed them to stop. And not suspecting that they were armed robbers, they knew that it's a police checkpoint, that they were policemen, they stopped. And all of a sudden, they pulled rifles on them and then asked them to lie down. In fact, two other people emerged from the forest and joined them to be four of them. And they asked all of them to lie down and then hand over their motor keys to them. They had to do so to save their lives. So they searched them, took their mobile phones, collected all the money they had with them, and then one of the motors that they preferred, the motor looks quite new. They took that motor, and then from them, and then beat them up.
Hello?
What is this?
Ms.
Hello?
Avoka?
Hello?
Ms. Avoka, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So they brutalized them. They took money from them. They took their mobile phones, and then they even pulled one of the ladies in the entourage aside, and then tried to rape her. Her lie was that she was bleeding, and that is why they left her. But she had to do with some slaps and the rest of them. Then we were lucky because a good Samaritan heard the gunshots and then called my car and the people in my car that there was armed robbery just ahead of us and that we had to take cover. So I tried to call the Zebula police to be able to see if we could get the police reinforcement protection, but to no avail. So we had to wait there for some time. And then after they had taken the booties and whatnot from the people and then traumatizing them, they ran away into the bush. And then before we were able to pass and then get to Zebula town by 11 o'clock, 11:30.
All right.
As soon as we got to Zebula town, we went to the police station and reported to the police.
Right.
At the time that we got there, there were only two people on duty, a woman and then a policewoman and then one young man. He took the complaint from me and then said that we should go and come back the following day around 9:30 a.m. So that the CRDP will take the statements. I was wondering whether he should not call the district commander so that they will get some police to do some patrols and then even pursue the armed robbers because of the various routes that they would have taken. But that didn't happen. And so the armed robbers in the Bokuwetis have a field day. It's enough to rob and then just leave the scene and nobody follows you up. I think that is a big challenge.
All right.
Bokuwet district is the most
Mr. Avoka,
in the Upper East region.
Mr. Avoka,
yes.
Fortunately, we have the Zebula District Police Commander on the line as well. So hold on for me. We'll pass
That's
on
right.
the challenges to him. But we have on the line Superintendent Adam Ahmed Mahama. He's a Zebula District Police Commander. Good afternoon and thanks for your time, sir.
Good afternoon to your other listeners.
Okay. Sir, so tell us the status of investigations. Have you made any arrests yet? And what have you come up with in terms of your investigations?
Yes, what happened was that yesterday at around 10:45 p.m., a complaint was lodged at the district headquarters to the effect that there was a robbery attack on the Binaba route. And then apparently a group of 9 people who went on a campaign with the parliamentary candidate of the NDC were returning to Zebula. And when they got to a section of the road along the Binaba-Zebula stretch on that route, 4 people were armed with AK-47 rifle suddenly emerged from the bush and then asked all of them to lie on the ground. But apparently, you could see that there was another Ascona vehicle, Ascona car, with registration number AS 1670N. And that had already taken the lead. The robbers stopped the car. And you could see MPP stickers on that very car. The robbers stopped the car and even shot the back left tire and then rendered the car immobile. But what happened was that we have patrol teams dotted at certain portions that will be able to respond to emergencies. So when the issue was reported, we decided to dispatch one patrol team. Apparently, it's not true that police didn't take action. And let me say that we have been able to put robbery under check ever since I took over as the district commander. The honorable parliamentary candidate is aware we have brought robbery under control. And so if he says you can just rob and then get away with it, I beg to differ. That is not what is happening in the Zebula district. Let me say that we are on top of security. We went to the scene, and apparently we couldn't even see any empty shelves on the spot. We visited the scene, combed round, and then we took statements from the various complainants. We got to a place where we had torn beach that was lying on the ground. And then the lady made us to understand that one of the ladies was pulled to that side because the robbers made an attempt to rob her, to rape her. But unfortunately, she was bleeding, as the parliamentary candidate said.
Commander.
And for that matter, they were not able to achieve their aim.
All right, Commander, you talk about the successes you've chalked in ensuring that the armed robbery rate goes down in that particular area. Be that as it may, we are hearing of incidents involving politicians, or political actors, and how they're being targeted by armed robbers, especially around this time.
Please come again.
I'm saying that you're saying that you have recorded successes with regards to the armed robbery rate in your area. But I'm saying that be that as it may, we are seeing in many other areas how politicians are being targeted. And so given this situation we have on our hands now, are you going to be stepping up security in the area? What are you going to do going forward?
We have always stepped up security in the area. We have two patrol teams, and then at any point in time, remember, we cannot cover every part of Boku West district. So we have patrol teams that are stationed at particular locations. For security reasons, I will not be able to disclose that on air. We have patrol teams, and we dispatch them as and when the need arises. This is what we have done all along to be able to put robbery in check. We are putting a lot of measures. And for that matter, even the rate of highway robbery, even before I took over, it has reduced drastically. Even robbery in general, they can all confess.
All right, Superintendent Adam Ahmed Mahama, thanks very much for your time. The parliamentary candidate, Mr. Avoka, is still on the line with us. Mr. Avoka, so what security measures, personal security measures, do you intend to take going forward so that you don't encounter such situations? Well,
thank you very much. The personal security measures that I think that we should put in place include efforts on our part with the candidates or the politicians to try to complete our rallies early enough to avoid midnight rallies. But it is a big challenge to us because this is a harvesting time in the area, and people are eager to be able to harvest their granules, maize, rice, etc., because of potential bushfires and then animals, running rot on their farms and eating everything that they have suffered to produce. So people want to harvest during the daytime, and in the evening they will want to come for rallies. So that is why we had a rally up to about 10 p.m. It's a commonplace in the area. So we have to adjust, let the population understand that we have to do the rally early enough and close. That's a big challenge, but it's something that we should address.
All right.
And then secondly, I think that we have to notify the police about our movement so that if police are able to provide us the necessary protection wherever we go, and we think that we anticipate that the rally will end in the night, then we get police escort.
Right.
And I think that I, as an individual, and then the parliamentary candidate, I would need a personal police escort. My colleague is the MPP parliamentary candidate, is a deputy regional minister, and therefore he is blessed with security. But as a former interior minister and then a former majority leader and a parliamentary candidate, I'm exposed to the challenges of insecurity. So I think that it will do them a lot of good, and myself, if the police can detail a policeman to be part of my campaign team, so that they can provide the necessary security. But to a large extent, I think that wherever we go and we think that we are going to be late, I expect that the police will be able to provide us cover so that we don't run into this type of risk that we had yesterday. I still want to put on record that the Bokuwe district is the most insecure district in the Upper East region. The district commander can challenge me to this, but this is a fact. And if you want to interview anybody in the area, there are many routes that are very vulnerable. Between Zebila and Sapielega is very vulnerable. No week passes or 2 days pass without an armed robbery attack. Between Zebila and Binabe, where we went through, is very vulnerable. Between even Bolgatanga and then Zebila is very vulnerable. Even daytime, they rob. He is aware. Between Zebila and Widnaba route is very vulnerable. Even a month ago, they shot and killed somebody along the route and many other places. So it may be admittedly, he might have reduced it to some level, but it is still very high because if there's insecurity in one incident or 2 incidents, that is a lot of concern for the people. We are living in fear, whether he admits or not, but people are living in fear.
All right,
and I think that we should put our efforts together to address this issue.
Very well.
So I need personal protection, and then I expect that the various campaign teams, whether NDC or MPP, we need to be guided. We need to be guided when we are on a campaign trail.
Very well. Thanks so much for your time. That's the NDC parliamentary candidate for Zebila and former majority leader Cletus Avoka there. All right, so doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results is the definition of insanity. Strong words, but those are not mine. They are from the flag bearer of the Convention People's Party, Ivor Greenstreet, as he makes a pitch to Ghanaians to consider the CPP in the upcoming election. According to the CPP leader, giving the NDC and MPP another chance at governing the country will be irrational. Ivor Greenstreet has been speaking at the launch of his party's manifesto a while ago at the headquarters of the party.
Of the national crisis into which the P and the NDC MPP have plunged us demands that the good people of Ghana muster the courage and give them an electric shock on the 7th of December. Some people say that trying the same thing over and over again without success and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. We have tried the NDC and MPP on 7 occasions since 1992, and neither party has lived up even to our most reasonable expectations, let alone their grand promises. It would be irrational for us either to try the NDC or the MPP again and hope for any other result than the same disappointment and delusion. Enough is enough. Ghanaians must seize this opportunity to deliver a powerful electoral message to the leaders of these 2 parties in order to demonstrate to them that we are not impressed by the constant comparison of their respective records of failure. It is high time now for us to choose something new in our lives. A vote for the CPP is a vote for ourselves, and therefore it is a vote for yourself.
Mr. Greenstreet has also been outlining a number of promises he says holds the key to Ghana's success, including freezing ex gratia payments to all Article 71 office holders and giving state support for the creation of factories. Take a listen.
I want to share with you some 10 brief points taken from our manifesto, which will guide you to the kinds of change that the Convention People's Party intends to bring to our beloved country. Under governance, we will take another look at this constitutional review process. We will freeze all Article 71 ex gratia payments pending a review. We will immediately implement the right to the information bill. We will freeze the sale of all government property to civil servants and public servants and political appointees. We will also review such past sales and reclaim such state properties, especially land. Under infrastructure, we shall complete all proper infrastructure projects begun by previous governments. We shall directly offer state support for the creation of factories in strategic areas to create productive and permanent jobs. Under food and agriculture, we will offer our farmers a guaranteed market and a fair price for a wide range of food and cash crops, as was done to produce cocoa's miracle. We will also place a moratorium on the importation of chicken and rice imports within a year. Under the economy, taxation, and investment, much is dependent on our financial situation, but we intend to review and or remove all tax exemptions to foreign-owned companies, review and reduce corporate tax from 25% to 20% for Ghanaian-owned businesses, and VAT to 10% or progressively to single digits. We will consider the increase in tax on foreign exchange remittances sent out by foreign businesses. We will consider a rise to 25% retention of foreign exchange proceeds by foreign companies.
Justice Henako is Secretary of the Manifesto Committee for the CPP, and he joins me in the studio now. So, freezing ex gratia payments to Article 71 holders and providing support for the creation of factories. Those are very interesting, promises. I mean, we're seeing a lot of promises or hearing a lot of promises from the various candidates. But tell us more about what your manifesto holds for the people of Ghana.
Well, good afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers. It is not really promises. What we are actually proposing to do is to rebuild the state and restore trust in government. You realize that a whole lot of people are giving up. You yourself, you broadcast on the news, people saying that no roads, no vote, nothing. It means trust in government is a big issue in our current dispensation, as well as the fact that we have a broken state. And we've had a broken state since 1982 because of the kind of socioeconomic architecture which has been built in our country and which has produced a duopoly which does the same thing over and over again and gives up empty promises. Article 71, why is it that ex gratia is not paid to workers, people who have worked for 30, 40 years building this country, creating the wealth of this country, but ex gratia is given to only the elite, the political and high public servant elite in this country.
Also working for the country?
Indeed, just like all others. So if they are going to be paid ex gratia, then everybody should be paid ex gratia. If ex gratia is not good for the working people, then they shouldn't have ex gratia.
I noticed you didn't say that you are scrapping it totally, but you are just freezing it. So is that you're just suspending it and then you come back to it later? Is that what it is?
No, we're freezing it so that we review it. Indeed, if you go into the manifesto, we're going to link the payment of whatever it is, pensions, to the current social security pensions, which is paid to everybody. We have to have a level playing field for all people who work for this country. So that is about the ex gratia. Indeed, we're also talking about the fact that people use their positions to take government lands for a song. People use their positions to procure brand new cars when they're about to go on retirement and then sell it at almost next to nothing to themselves. We're going to scrap that. And we're going to make sure that all the state lands, which were not advertised, but were taken because of by virtue of people's positions, the government, if we get into power, will take it back for the state.
All right.
So, but one of the main features which is different from that of the duopoly is that we insist on planning. Planning. Everything must be planned. And so there should be a medium-term and to long-term plan for our country. Plan which is cross-sectoral, across board, in everything that we do.
Is that not what the NDP's mandate is? the National Development Planning Commission's mandate is.
Has it been able to do it?
But it is not binding on the parties, which is why we're in the situation we are.
And that is exactly why there's no spatial planning. There's no land use planning.
So what would the CPP do differently?
What we'll do differently is that we'll draw up a national development plan, of course, with the NDPC, and enshrine it in law.
Okay.
So that for the period of our time, we will adhere to it and challenge any other of the parties
for it to be passed by Parliament, you must necessarily have a majority in Parliament. Over the past 20 years or so, the CPP has had a negligible number of, representatives in Parliament. So how feasible is what you are proposing to us?
You see, our mentality of winner takes all should drastically change if we want change in this country. This country belongs to all of us. That concept of opposition for opposition's sake, it's not necessary. We need consensus. So we not having a majority in Parliament does not preclude the fact that we can create a national government across the aisle.
Okay. All right. So tell us, what does your manifesto say about unemployment? We know that that's one of the major topics going into the elections. The two major parties, the MPP and the NDC, have put out their plans for the youth and for creation of jobs. What is the CPP proposing to do?
What we are proposing to do is that we need to have an investment strategy in strategic industries. We need to, one, create an import substitution sector and an export-led sector. These two are the ones which, based upon production, which would create permanent jobs and employ our teeming youth. We don't want temporary jobs for our people. We want to make use of the skills and the education which has been acquired by our youth so that we can create wealth, because without production, wealth can't be created. And we need real factories, the factories which were abandoned.
And so that's
not
how you
those toy factories which we are being subjected to
toy
now.
Factories?
Indeed.
Why do you call them toy factories?
Because they are little cottage factories which are being built all over. When you talk of a factory, you are talking of an entity which has got a backward linkage to raw materials and a forward linkage to marketing.
And you're saying the current factories that we have
Absolutely
don't
not.
have that?
Let me give you an example. We grow cotton in this country. We grow cotton in the north. We have a ginnery in Tamale. That ginnery treats the cotton, and the cotton is brought to Japan, which of course the CPP built, to make the yarn, which is the basis for textiles. And then it's taken to Akosombo Textile to make the cloth. Then it is brought to GNTC wholesale textiles for the women to take it to go and sell. And then we had the Department of Textiles in KNUST in order for them to train those who would do the textiles. That is what we call a value chain from raw material production in our country right down to we making use of the end product.
Interesting. So we'll see a return to that if the CPP is elected into power. Okay, tell us about education. That's a major issue to going into the elections. The MPP has been touting its free SHS policy. The NDC has been talking about how it intends to review it and improve it. What does the CPP intend to do? Well,
we ought to understand that free education has been in progress since 1960. To date, from 1960, tuition and access to textbooks have been made free, even up to today. What Nanando and the NPP have done is to give free boarding and lodging, in addition to the free tuition and free access to textbooks, which has been there since 1960. In 1960, we made it compulsory for everyone to go to school. We are going to make it compulsory again.
How do you intend to do that?
Well, I mean, the law will be there. I mean, everybody who is of school-going age must be made to go to school.
We have so many laws in this country. The problem is implementation or enforcement. So how do you intend to enforce the law?
Yes, we're taking note that there's lawlessness, low-level lawlessness in this country. And one of our biggest aims in this the CPP dispensation is to enforce the law. We are not going to add new laws. All the laws are there already. It's enforcement which is a problem.
And how do you intend to,
we use the institutions, we will strengthen the institutions for law enforcement. We'll give them the needed political direction. The truth of the matter is that just imagine how the sirens are used. Without recourse to the guidelines on the use of sirens. And if the ordinary people see their leaders being lawless, naturally, they are also going to be lawless. They're going to follow suit. Interesting.
So we're just about less than 40 days to the elections. What has accounted for the delay in launching your manifesto? Because, I mean, do you really expect Ghanaians to be able to assimilate all the policies that you have contained in your manifesto between now and December 7 in order to make an informed choice and perhaps vote for the CPP?
Well, there have been challenges within our party, and we were only able to go to Congress in late August. So we just had September, when the new leadership came into power, to write our manifesto. Now, as to it being assimilated by the people of Ghana, the truth of the matter is that we are giving out an entirely alternative to the status quo. And so we expect Ghanaians to be very curious. Oh, what are they saying? Because what we are saying is that the duopoly has, since 1982, repeated the same old formula. And it has brought us no change. And that, so long as the same old formula is going to be repeated, let's try something new. And we are offering the people of our country something new.
Something new.
Indeed.
And how convinced are you that the people will choose the CPP over the NDC and the MPP? You're promising something new.
Yeah.
But they've heard this several times.
Yeah. Well, the good people of our country have a choice. They are the kings. They are the electorate. They can either choose to live in the squalor which has been created by the duopoly, or they can look to a bright new future which is being preferred to them by the CPP. A
bright new future. Well, we'll see. But hold on for me. We have a video. I want you to watch this video.
Total support. Number 4 on the ballot.
That's right.
So we are going to count from 1 to 4. And on number 4 on the ballot, I am going to apply 240 votes into these two, NDC and MPP. Are you ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So the CPP wants Ghanaians to give the MPP and the NDC an electric shock. We saw that video there. Explain to us what you mean when you say you want to give Ghanaians to give the NDC and MPP an electric shock.
Anytime you are ill, you need a certain cure, and therapy is important. The therapy we are suggesting for the cure for our country is to give a shock therapy to the duopoly. We have seen them. We are tired of them. They are bored. And so we need to use part of the electricity from Akosombo, which we built, to give them an electric shock therapy. And you can only do that by voting for number 4 for the CPP. When you hear the cock crowing on the dawn of
early in the
7
morning.
in the morning, and you get to the polling station, it is number 4. You vote for number 4, give an electric shock so that we can create change, a bright new future for our beloved
Very finally,
country.
so everybody is confident that their party will win the elections. But by what percentage are you predicting that the CPP will win the election?
I wouldn't say today by giving any prediction, but we expect that the good people of this country would be minded to vote for change and put us on top.
Very well. Thank you so much for your time. That's Mr. Henaku. He is a member of the CPP's manifesto committee there. You're still here with me, Araba Kumsin, on Election Brief. We're taking a short breather. We'll be right back. You're welcome back to Election Brief. And minority MPs are asking the Speaker to summon Interior Minister Ambrose Derry and the EC boss, Jean Mensah, to brief MPs on preparations ahead of the December 7 elections. The House is expected to adjourn indefinitely next week, Saturday, for the elections. MP for South Dai, Roxanne Dafiamekpo, who spoke on the floor, is also raising concerns that there may be too many bills the House had to deal with ahead of the elections.
And this will discuss the leadership meeting this morning, a view of the global instructions as to distance between persons when seated or standing. For the time being, we want to let one seat in between every 2 members, so that we sit in a way whereby it will be healthy for us, and also we will be showing a good example to our countrymen and women because of our stature as members of this. Meanwhile, as the majority leader suggested the other day, we are in the process of making all relevant arrangements if we can relocate temporarily to the conference center. Of course, with the permission of the executive, and carry on for our business there. And maybe these things will make people realize that Parliament really is in need of a more spacious place to do the business that we are engaged to do. So in future, all these things will be considered.
Parliamentary correspondent Joseph Aboku-Gakpo joins us for more on this. So Joseph, how has the Speaker been responding to this request by the minority? Hello, Joseph, if you can hear me, what has been the response to the minority's request?
So there's been a comment on that from the majority leader, Jean Mensah, who indicates that the request for the Interior Minister to come brief MPs is in order, and that there had already been a conversation about this at the level of the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs, with various political parties being present and also some MPs being present. And in some of those conversations, the necessary details on adequate security during the election were given. But if the minority MPs want the General House to be briefed, they would go ahead and try to make the necessary preparations to allow for that. On the bit about the Electoral Commissioner, Jean Mensah, as well, possibly appearing, the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs says, again, that's also very much in order. But he went on to say that the Electoral Commission has a very busy schedule going into the next election. And so his office will be conferring with the Office of the Electoral Commissioner whether she will be available to come provide this additional briefing that the minority MPs are asking for. There are a number of bills on the agenda, which is how come the leaders in Parliament are raising the concern about the volume of work that needs to be done and the fact that repeatedly there are only a few MPs showing up to come get the necessary business done because a lot of them are back in their constituencies contesting. But again, the majority leader make the point that he had previously advised that political parties should rework their internal contest so that we don't have the situation where a lot more of the veterans are leaving Parliament, and so that there is enough protection for sitting MPs going into upcoming elections, which is things that if other political parties relook at, then there will be adequate space for MPs to have time to do business in the House, even approaching various elections.
All right, many thanks, Parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opokugapo, with that update. Let's turn our attention on the MPP, and some members of the party say the party will retain the Mfantseman seat. The MPP will, on December, be represented by Mrs. Ophelia Kwanzaa Hayford, wife of the late MP Eko Kwanzaa Hayford, who was killed by armed men. Members of the opposition NDC, however, disagree. Central Regional Correspondent Richard Kojonyako was in the constituency and has come through with this report.
Mfantseman Huban, the battle is still the Lord's.
This is the popular Mankesim roundabout, and behind me is the imposing billboard of the NPP parliamentary candidate from Mfantseman, Ophelia Hayford. About 2 weeks ago, this billboard was not there. It was her husband's billboard. Now the husband is no more, and the NPP has replaced the husband, and she now takes the place of the husband. This is James' son, the NDC parliamentary candidate for Mfantseman. In fact, this very candidate of the NDC slugged it out with the MPP parliamentary candidate late Eko Kwanzaa Hayford and lost. He lost by a vote difference or a vote margin of 721. Now he comes up again in 2020 to contest the wife of the late MP, Ophelia Hayford. If the wife succeeds in beating James, it means that both husband and wife have beaten James in the Mfantseman constituency.
If she had conducted herself so well, excuse my language, as a widow, maybe a chance would present itself, not going into this election, but some other years to come. Because in our customs, it even disallow widows, to go around showcasing their political, talent for the people to vote into power. Our customs, our traditions, all of this abhors a widow trying to secure, political power at the expense of maybe the husband who has lost his life.
Eric is the communications officer of the NDC for Mfantseman. He's so convinced the NPP's candidate, Ophelia Hayford, is barred by customs to contest. For him, the NPP's candidate should not have even accepted to contest, but should be somewhere mourning her late husband. But Abekwe Sylvie, personal assistant to the late MP and the communications officer of the MPP in the constituency, says nothing bars Madam Ophelia Hayford from contesting. In fact, traditional authorities in the area see nothing wrong with the move.
So what we have done is that we have consulted with the various traditional councils and asked if indeed it is befitting for the woman to step into the shoes of the late husband. And they have all given us thumbs up. They believe that she has what it takes to take over. For the bereavement and the mourning, it is supposed to be so. But what is most important as well is that the job must be done. And if it must be done, it must be done well. And if it is going to be done well, then it has to be done by Mrs. Ophelia Kwanzaa Hayford.
The NDC again have their doubts about the capabilities of Madam Ophelia Hayford to handle the constituency as an MP.
It does not actually warrant that indeed she understands the political dynamics. She was into police service. Police service is quite different from political dynamics. When you find yourself in a political space, it is quite different ball game. It takes people with courage, people who better appreciate and understand political dynamics, just to bring to the fore the development that the people dealt in needs. It does not matter whether you are IGP or whatever. You can be an IGP and fail as MP because you don't appreciate and understand the political dynamics of the area.
But the MPP's Abekwe Sophie thinks otherwise.
At a point in time in the life of Honorable Ekokwanse Hayford, he gets tired, he gets worn out and wants to take a rest or bow out. But it is this woman who encourages him to keep on and keep on and keep on. Therefore, if the baton has been handed over to her, I tell you, my brother, she has laced up her boots and she is ready and more than ready. I know her and I know her very well that she is capable and able to the task, and that she is going to ensure that the new patriotic party in Mfantseman, for the first time in the history of the fourth Republican Constitution, is going to retain the seat for the new patriotic party in Mfantseman.
The NDC since 1992 has won the Mfantseman seats 5 times, 1992, 1996 and 2000. In 2004, Stephen Asamoah Boateng, popularly known as Asabi, halted the strings of victories of the NDC and won the seat for the MPP, but was unsuccessful in defending it in 2008. The NDC, led by Akwana Steria Kwansa, held the seat from 2008 to 2016 until the late Kwansa Hayford won against the NDC's candidate, James Esson, who happens to be the NDC's candidate for 2020. On the streets of the Mfantseman constituency, many are making strong claim for their candidates. We have consoled her. She's a strong woman who wouldn't want the memories of the husband to be lost. She only wants to keep the memories of the husband. Now the MPP's candidate is a woman. It was her husband that was involved in an accident. The question we want to ask is, does the MPP not have anybody apart from the wife of the deceased? We don't know this woman from anywhere. She keenly followed whatever the husband was doing. She knows all the people who benefited from the vehicles the husband bought for the youth on work and pay basis. She knows all of them. She's very courageous and strong. When she comes, she will help mobilize the women. She will give us loans. She will take care of the needy and the sick as the husband was doing if she is given the opportunity. We don't know Ophelia from anywhere. It was her husband that stood and won, and death claimed him. This seat is not for any family. Are we going to look on for the president to make wives whose husbands pass on replace them? It has happened before. If care is not taken, should the president die, the wife would be made to replace him. If we continue to do this, things might not augur well for us.
So it's unfortunate the husband is no more there. She was a pillar to Honorable Ekokwansa Hayford, but then Honorable Ekokwansa Hayford is no more there. But the wife knows a lot of the projects that the husband undertook, the desires of the husband. So we thank the Almighty God and the entire executive for bringing her, because for me she will be a perfect replacement for them.
Why won't I vote for your son, who is an NDC? I quite remember that he supported one of our people to go to Mecca for the Hajj. If the person who was just a candidate would do this for us, why won't I vote for him? So, will it be the MPP's Ophelia Mensah Hayford, who is vowed to be the NDC's candidate for, as they say, to keep the memories of the late husband who died under tragic circumstances, or the NDC's candidate, James Esson, the one supporters of the NDC call homeboy will just shrug off the competition from Ophelia by extending the dominance of the NDC in the constituency.
So who will emerge winner? We have 38 days to find out. But that's how we wrap up Election Brief for this week. Join us same time next week. I'm Marbara Kumsin. Enjoy your week.